This is an orientation of safety and environmental rules, regulations, and expectations. This orientation is not all-inclusive, and all work shall be coordinated through an NRG plant contact. This orientation is not and shall not be considered training for any job qualifications. All employees and contractors shall be fully trained in the trade and work scope that they will be conducting on site. Welcome to our facility. The Ivanpah Solar Electric Generating Station is located within the Ivanpah Valley, a predominantly undeveloped, topographically closed basin. Nearby water bodies include the 35-square-mile Ivanpah Dry Lake, several ephemeral waterways, and scattered springs along the mountain front. Units 1, 2, and 3 each consist of a large solar field of heliostats surrounding a central power block. Each solar field consists of arrays of up to 60,000 heliostats located on rows arranged in arcs with progressively larger radii. The units are typically started each morning after sunrise and insolation buildup, and shut down in the evening when insolation drops below the level required to keep the turbine online. A natural gas-fired auxiliary steam boiler in each power block is used during startup and to supplement solar heating. The purpose of this video is to familiarize you with the safety policies and procedures that you're required to observe whenever you are on site. If you have any questions regarding your safety responsibilities while at the station, see your NRG plant contact. The employees of NRG are committed to continuous improvement in safety, product quality, and environmental excellence. We will manage our business with the objective of providing a healthful and safe workplace for all employees, visitors, and contractors. Let's start by looking at how you gain access to the facility. All contractors and visitors to the Ivanpah station must report to the administration building. Use the intercom at the gate to contact the security department or operations to access the facilities. Once security obtains confirmation from the NRG plant contact, contractors will be told where to proceed. All vehicles entering the site will be subject to inspection. Firearms, explosives, and weapons of any type are strictly prohibited. Possession or use of alcohol, illegal drugs, or controlled substances is not permitted on site. Enhanced safety awareness is expected once you pass through the main gate. Therefore, use caution passing through the turnstiles and be sure to look both ways before any crossings. No pedestrian should walk out in front of a moving vehicle until the pedestrian is certain the driver has recognized and acknowledged the pedestrian's presence. Now let's look at plant safety. Our safety rules exist to protect employees and contractors. The following section discusses the NRG Zero Tolerance Rules. The Zero Tolerance Rules were designed to avoid unacceptable conduct or a disregard for safe work practices and to ensure compliance with written procedures. They also provide for safe usage of tobacco and cell phones. Contractors must conduct job briefings, tailboards, with their employees at the start of each individual work assignment or shift and whenever a change in work scope warrants. Job briefings must be documented and cover at a minimum hazards with the job, work procedures involved, special precautions, energy source controls, and PPE requirements. Smoking is prohibited in some areas of NRG facilities. No special time off from your duties will be allowed for the purpose of smoking. It is required that smokers dispose of smoking materials, butts, tobacco, etc., properly. This rule applies to electronic or e-cigarettes as well. See your NRG plant contact for the designated smoking areas. The use of personal electronic devices, such as radios, MP3 and CD players, cell phones, etc., is either restricted or prohibited on NRG property. Permission to use equipment of this type must be obtained through your NRG plant contact. NRG provides a lunch or break room. To protect you from inadvertently ingesting a toxin, NRG forbids eating and drinking in the production areas of the plant. While eating food is always prohibited outside of designated break areas, water or hydration drinks are allowed in heat stress areas. Only closed plastic bottles or water coolers are permitted. While on site, you will notice many signs posted throughout the station. These signs inform you of safety rules and must be observed at all times. Upon entering the facility, please ensure all vehicles are parked within the designated area. The security of contractor vehicles and associated property is the contractor's responsibility. All traffic controls, such as signs or lights, must be obeyed at all times, as it is critical for everyone's safety and minimizes fugitive dust. People are not to ride on the exteriors of vehicles such as pickup trucks or the decks of yard cranes or forklifts. No NRG vehicles, including forklifts or mobile cranes, are to be operated by contractor personnel unless specifically authorized by your NRG plant contact. To drive a work vehicle, you must have a valid driver's license and obey all posted speed limits. Vehicle drivers should sound the vehicle horn when approaching facility doorways, both personnel and overhead doors, located in close proximity of a vehicle driven. If the vehicle isn't equipped with a backup alarm, sound the horn before backing. Authorized vehicles within the station must stop at all railroad crossings. If a train is present, the vehicle may only cross with permission of the train operator. Otherwise, vehicles must remain stopped. And finally, drivers are expected to give the right-of-way to pedestrians, especially when passing turnstiles. All tools, ladders, and scaffolds brought on site must comply with all OSHA and ANSI standards. Only fiberglass ladders are allowed on the property. Wooden and metal ladders are not permitted on site at any time. All ladders must be properly secured before climbing. Do not use an NRG portable or rolling ladder without the approval of your NRG plant contact. While your company provides the supplies, tools, and equipment, we require you to inspect your tools daily to ensure they are clean, in safe working condition, and can be used safely. NRG requires the use of GFCIs when using power tools. The GFCI is to be installed at the outlet before any tool or extension cord is plugged in. Tools should only be used for the work for which they are designed. Maintain all safety guards and safety devices in place. Never remove or alter a safety device or guard from any tool. When using impact tools, sockets must be firmly attached with the proper retaining clips. Only trained individuals are to use scaffolds and aerial lifts. Scaffolds and aerial lifts must be inspected prior to use on each shift. Scaffolding is to be installed or modified only by competent erectors and inspected only by authorized competent persons. Colored scaffold inspection tags include the following: red, do not use, under construction; green, ready to use, no restriction, inspection and date noted; yellow, follow the noted restrictions. The inspector's initials and date are entered on the tag. Fall protection is required for all aerial lifts and on scissor lifts where recommended by the manufacturer. It's required on scaffolds not fully protected with guardrails, or when noted on the inspection tag. Additionally, tools need to be tied off when working at heights. All hazardous substances being brought on site must be preceded by the SDS, formerly MSDS, for review and approval by the safety and environmental specialists. Refer to the SDS for vital information in case of an incident or emergency related to those chemicals. You may get the SDS for chemicals commonly used in the plant through your NRG plant contact, the safety specialist, or the environmental specialist. Finally, do not leave or store chemicals on site after your job is complete. It is your responsibility to remove the hazardous materials or chemicals that you brought into the station. See your NRG plant contact anytime you need energy isolation, lockout, tagout, hot work permits for burning, cutting, and welding, or confined space entry. At NRG, you are required to immediately report to your supervisor any work-related injuries or near hits, also called near misses. There is always the hazard of coming into contact with energized rotating equipment in our facilities. Any loose items on clothing or in pockets, jewelry, or long hair should be secured prior to entering our facility. The minimum required personal protective equipment to be worn while in operating areas of the plant and adjoining yards includes hard hat, safety glasses with side shields, cotton or flame-resistant shirts with sleeves, long pants, work gloves, and safety toe footwear. Additional clothing or PPE requirements may apply when other hazards are present. For example, flame-resistant clothing is required when welding, burning, and working on or near energized electrical equipment, and long-sleeved shirts are required around hot piping and equipment during hot work and electrical tasks, and during any other tasks where short sleeves might expose you to hazards. Note that shorts and tank tops are not permitted, and appropriate gloves must be worn at all times when in the operating areas of the plant or adjoining yards. You are required to wear non-metallic hard hats that meet ANSI standards anytime you are in any operating area of the plant, outdoors, or in situations that otherwise would require their use. Hard hats are to be worn brim forward and must be ANSI approved and offer dielectric protection. You must be prepared to don hearing protection in all areas of the plant except admin areas, as it is required where noise levels are above 85 decibels. Double hearing protection is required where noise is equal to or exceeds 105 decibels. Turning off or removing your hearing aids is not hearing protection. Rather, research states that you may have additional noise-induced hearing loss. Moreover, without your hearing aids, speech messages and some warning signals may not be heard, affecting safety. The recommended solution for safety and hearing protection for individuals who wear hearing aids is to also wear earmuff-style hearing protection. Earbuds are not hearing protection. Footwear meeting ANSI standards must be worn at all times. Athletic-style safety shoes are prohibited. Sneakers and sandals are not allowed to be worn anywhere on site. Eye protection with side shields is required whenever you are in operating areas of the plant or outdoors. Safety glasses must meet ANSI Z87.1 standards. Additionally, a full face shield is required whenever your eyes and face are exposed to potential hazards from chemical agents or physical activities such as grinding. When working in areas where there is the possibility of creating dusty conditions, such as inside boilers or ductwork, foam-lined safety glasses or full coverage goggles must be used to protect the eyes from foreign particles. To prevent injuries from inadvertent contact with material or equipment, leather or cut-resistant gloves must be worn at all times in operating areas of the plant and outdoors. This does not include the administrative or lunchroom areas of the plant unless work that could injure the hands is being performed in these locations. The type of glove you'll need depends on the job you're doing. Be sure you select the correct type of gloves for the specific hazards you might encounter, such as sharp edges, chemicals, extreme temperatures, splinters, or other hazards. Without exception, NRG requires fall protection whenever you are exposed to an unprotected fall hazard of 4 or more feet. Again, you, the contractor, are required to supply fall protection equipment and to successfully complete fall protection training. For your safety, you are required to wear a full-body safety harness with suspension trauma relief devices and appropriate style lanyard anytime you work in any of these areas. Suspended scaffolds or stages, scaffolds with incomplete handrails, open-sided floors or platforms that are 4 feet or more above a lower level. It is recommended that you use a retractable lifeline as much as possible for fall protection regardless of height. Fall distances must be calculated to determine the type of connecting device to be used. As a general rule, if you are working under 18.5 feet, always use a self-retracting lifeline. If working over 18.5 feet, use a shock-absorbing lanyard or self-retracting lifeline. In aerial lifts, use a positioning lanyard to limit the fall distance. If a self-rescue after fall is not reasonable within 5 minutes, a written rescue plan must be part of the job briefing. Calling 911 is not a rescue plan. Grating and railings have been installed for the safety of everyone. Removing any grates or railings is prohibited without the approval of your NRG plant contact or the site safety specialist. If the removal of a cover, grating, or railing creates a fall hazard, a 4-foot or more drop, fall protection is required. Before beginning any work, make sure the site has been assessed by your supervisor. This safety precaution prevents an oversight that could harm others or yourself. Under no circumstances shall an opening be left unattended without a hard barricade in place. Before the barricade is removed, you must replace the safety grating or railing. Be sure to replace clips and reinstall tack welds. Approved respiratory protection must be worn when you are exposed to dusts, mists, or fumes. You are required to follow your own company's respiratory protection program. The type of respirator you use must be appropriate for the specific hazards to which you are exposed. You must wear approved electrical protective equipment and clothing if your work could expose you to electric shock or arc flash. See your NRG plant contact if you have any questions. Trenching and excavation requirements will be reviewed by the NRG plant contact. Open areas shall always be hard barricaded and, depending on depth, be stepped, benched, or have cave-in protection. Ensure proper access with sloped area or ladder access. All excavations over 4 feet in depth may qualify as a confined space until all of the potential hazards, such as engulfment, atmospheric hazards, limited means of egress, and the like, have been eliminated. Protective systems are required at 5 feet or a lesser depth if determined by inspection. Review the area for underground utilities and check for soil classification. People with implanted cardiac devices such as pacemakers and defibrillators must be aware that the equipment used to generate electricity can produce electromagnetic forces that may interfere with the proper function of these implanted devices. Some areas of the station have been posted with warning signs. If this is a personal concern to you, contact your NRG plant contact for further information. There are automated external defibrillators, AEDs, located throughout the plant. If you need access to one, contact the control room. All employees are trained on their use and will assist you. Any potentially hazardous work area must be properly marked off or barricaded, and the potential hazard must be identified on a tag when required. Be sure the barricade is removed at the completion of the job. Yellow and black caution tape indicates a potential hazard in the area. Entry is permitted after any hazards present have been identified, proper precautions have been taken, and it's been determined that entry is necessary. These areas are not to be used as a traffic area. Red and black danger tape signifies the presence of an immediate hazard that could cause death or serious injury. Entry is permitted only with the permission of the user group. Yellow and magenta tape indicates an ionizing radiation hazard. Do not cross this tape without obtaining authorization. All barricade tape must have a tag stating what the hazard is and give the name and phone number of the person who placed the tape. A fixed barricade must be erected when a hazard is left unattended or will be present for an extended period of time. If you have any questions about barricades present, contact your NRG plant contact. Certain areas of the plant are designated as confined spaces. To enter any confined space, you must be qualified and trained in all necessary confined space procedures. You must adhere to all OSHA requirements when working in confined spaces. Specifically, as part of those requirements, you must keep an entry-exit log and the confined space permit posted in a visible location. The atmosphere must be continuously monitored, and all air monitoring results must be recorded and kept readily available. An attendant must also be posted. Contractors must coordinate with their NRG plant contact for permit-required confined space entry that will require support from the confined space rescue team. There are a few other potential hazards on the site. Let's look at those now. Lead paint may be found on steel, wood, or concrete surfaces. It poses an inhalation hazard during burning, welding, or grinding. Painted areas must be tested for the presence of lead prior to any of these activities. If lead paint is present, proper abatement procedures must be followed. Storage tanks located on site contain chemicals and compressed gases such as carbon dioxide, lubricating oil, fuel oil, hydrochloric acid, and urea. Heat stress poses a threat in hot or confined areas. Areas with high temperatures may require additional controls such as fans, drinking additional liquids, and adjusting work or break schedules to prevent heat stress. Keep in mind that it doesn't need to be hot outside for you to suffer from heat stress. The heat produced by a boiler in a closed room is enough to be hazardous. Cold stress poses a threat in cold environments. In cold weather, if your duties will keep you in cold areas for extended periods of time, be sure to wear appropriate clothing. Layering improves insulation. Protect your face and extremities. Be sure your boots are waterproof and move to warm areas during breaks. Our gas units are supplied with fuel from a natural gas pipeline on site. Natural gas is highly combustible and can be explosive under the right conditions. All spaces containing natural gas must be continuously well ventilated and appropriate PPE worn. When working around natural gas, avoid heat and ignition sources. Be sure to use intrinsically safe equipment. Take measures against static charges and ensure all equipment used when handling natural gas is grounded. You should only work on natural gas equipment if you are trained and qualified, and if the scope of your work at the plant includes this work. Other hazards include severe weather, flash flooding, high winds, sun exposure, and poisonous snakes and insects. High winds pose a significant risk at the Ivanpah generating station. In particular, wind speeds in excess of 25 miles per hour have the potential to disrupt all work activities. When speeds reach these conditions, immediately evacuate the solar fields and notify your NRG station contact for further instruction. If you are in the tower, you must also notify your NRG station contact for additional guidance. All other work activities may resume with caution. Energy isolation locks and tags are issued by plant operations. Equipment locks and tags must not be tampered with in any way. Tampering with any equipment that is locked and tagged out will result in immediate removal from the property. The NRG lockout-tagout system requires contractors to utilize black-colored padlocks when locking onto any locked and tagged system. If you have any questions about equipment that is locked and/or tagged out, please see your NRG plant contact. Good housekeeping is important to maintaining a safe work environment. All contractors are responsible for keeping their work areas neat, clean, and orderly when working. They are required to leave it clean and secure at the end of the day. All cords and hoses must be run overhead to eliminate tripping hazards. Carelessness and indifference to good housekeeping and safety will not be tolerated. All spills must immediately be reported to the control room. In general, the following steps are taken by on-site personnel when it's safe to do so. Notify the control room and the EH&S specialist of the spill and status. The control room or the EH&S specialist will contact the response organization. Eliminate potential spark sources. If possible and safe to do so, identify and shut down the source of the discharge to stop the flow. Evacuate the affected area to protect personnel as needed. Contain the discharge using the absorbents and supplies in the spill kits, or create berms, trenches, or barricades using sandbags, soil and shovels, etc., to stop the spread of the spill. And collect and dispose of the recovered products according to regulation. NRG seeks to reduce waste generation and, in accordance with environmental law, provide for the safe, cost-effective, and responsible management of wastes that cannot otherwise be avoided. All paper, cardboard, drink containers not made of styrofoam, and scrap metal must be kept out of the solid waste dumpster. If you have any questions about waste disposal, contact your plant point of contact or the ES&H specialist. All waste must be containerized, labeled, and stored properly while awaiting approved disposal. See your NRG plant contact or the environmental specialist for the location of special waste containers and to get instructions on approved storage location and disposal. We are a regulated hazardous waste generator and have a hazardous waste program that we must follow. Hazardous waste is a waste with properties that make it potentially dangerous or harmful to human health or the environment. The universe of hazardous wastes is large and diverse. Hazardous wastes can be liquids, solids, or contained gases. They can be the byproducts of manufacturing processes, discarded used materials, or discarded unused commercial products, such as cleaning fluids, solvents, or pesticides. All wastes must be appropriately labeled and placed in the 90-day hazardous waste disposal area. In California, waste oil and materials that contain or are contained with waste oil are usually regulated as hazardous wastes if they meet the definition of used oil, even if they do not exhibit any of the characteristics of hazardous waste. The term used oil is a legal term which means any oil that has been refined from crude oil or any synthetic oil that has been used and, as a result of use, is contaminated with physical or chemical impurities. If you have any questions about waste disposal, contact your plant point of contact or the ES&H specialist. Universal waste, such as fluorescent bulbs, lead-acid batteries, capacitors, non-PCB ballasts, lithium batteries, nickel-cadmium batteries, and e-waste, is to be kept out of solid waste dumpsters and placed in the designated collection containers at the Administration Building or HAB. If an existing collection container cannot be located, properly label and date a new container. Scrap metal should be placed in the 40-yard collection bin located in front of the HAB. Recycling bins are available inside the plant and buildings for plastic water bottles and aluminum cans. All remaining trash should be disposed of in the collection containers located throughout the buildings. Larger items can be placed in the Blue Republic bins. Please ensure to break down all boxes before discarding. There are satellite waste accumulation areas throughout the facility. Once these are full or approaching 1 year on site, the waste is removed and relocated to the 90-day hazardous waste storage for proper disposal. If you have any questions about waste disposal, contact your plant point of contact or the ES&H specialist. Used oil is collected at the satellite waste accumulation area in 55-gallon drums. The drums are located throughout the facility and are clearly labeled hazardous waste. Oily rags and debris are collected in an adjacent 55-gallon drum. Do not commingle waste or discard hazardous waste in the regular trash. All drains within the power block are diverted to sumps and do not discharge off-site. However, storm drains similar to this one do in fact discharge off-site, and care should be exercised when handling material or working nearby where the potential for unauthorized discharge can occur. To that end, collect sanding, grinding, cutting waste on plastic and place all dusty wastes in sealed plastic bags before disposal. Dry sweep dust or particles from these activities. Never hose down into area drains. Do not clean paint brushes or other hazmat rinse out into plant drains or storm drains. Check with the NRG environmental specialist if you have any doubt about how to properly dispose of something. Hot work activity is most commonly defined as work involving electric or gas welding, cutting, grinding, brazing, or similar flame or spark-producing operations. These activities can inadvertently place an ignition source into an area with combustible or flammable materials. Hot work is considered hazardous if there is a flammable atmosphere or condition present. To avoid a possible hazard, an approved hot work permit is required to perform any potential spark-producing work. Your NRG plant contact will assist you in getting a hot work permit. A fire watch is required to be present for all hazardous hot work. The fire watch must have an approved fire extinguisher ready while the operation is in progress and be fully trained on its use. The fire watch may have no other job requirements or duties and must be fully aware of how to initiate the site's emergency action plan in case of fire. The fire watch must remain at the location for 60 minutes after the welding or burning operation ceases and check the area periodically for 3 hours after. If you use compressed gases, the cylinders must be stored in an upright position and away from heat and any operating systems. They must be secured by chains to prevent them from tipping. Rope is not permitted for this purpose. Earthquake-prone areas require double tie-off. Oxygen and acetylene cylinders must be stored at least 20 feet apart or separated during storage by an approved barrier when they are stored for over 24 hours. For your safety, you are required to confine yourself to only your designated work area, as defined by your NRG plant contact. You are to use only the designated entry and exit routes. Venturing outside of your designated areas could expose you to unforeseen hazards. No one is allowed to access the roof of any building unless your work requires it. If this is the case, roof access must be discussed with your NRG plant contact. To report a fire or other emergency, call the control room at 702-815-2001. Radio communication can also be used. Channel 1 for Unit 1, Channel 2 for Unit 2, and Channel 3 for Unit 3. Channel 10 will also place you in contact with the control room. If you don't know exactly where you are, give the control room supervisor your approximate location. The control room operator will dispatch the appropriate assistance to that location. Don't call 911 directly from your personal phone. Call the control room or the station emergency number listed on the site information handout provided to you upon your first entry. Reporting emergencies to the control room and having them contact 911 allows speedy access and direction of emergency personnel when they arrive. If you don't contact the control room, no one will know where to send emergency crews when they arrive. Do not use plant phones for personal use at any time. In the event of an emergency, please stop work immediately and proceed to the designated assembly point. If possible, safely secure your work location to minimize creating potential hazards. Attendance will be recorded by an NRG plant contact. You are not authorized to leave the property until directed to do so by an NRG plant contact. Finally, NRG has a zero-tolerance policy pertaining to safety violations. Contractor employees and/or contractors will be asked to leave the site and not return for a minimum of 120 days if one of these safety violations is observed. Additionally, the plant manager must be satisfied that safety issues have been fully and completely remediated. The safety violations that fall under NRG's zero-tolerance rules are as follows. Failure to follow fall protection tie-off policy. Violation of lockout-tagout policy. Violation of critical lift plan. Violation of hot work permit requirements. Failure to comply with confined space rules. Bypass of a safety device. Use of defective rigging. Inspect rigging daily. Continuation of work after notification of an unsafe act or condition. Vandalism or theft. Workplace violence. Reckless driving. Smoking outside of designated areas. Use of a cell phone or radio while operating machinery. Leaving equipment unattended with a suspended load. Failure to comply with the station's sign-in, sign-out security policy. The sale or use of alcoholic beverages, illegal drugs, or firearms. The unauthorized removal of scaffolding or any other shields established for safety. Failure to report a dropped tool, part, or other foreign object into an open component. Failure to notify supervision when a coworker violates these zero-tolerance rules. Before any work can be conducted, a contractor work authorization permit must be completed and the work area walked down with the NRG liaison. All contractors will also receive a life-saving rules card, which outlines key rules of safety and zero-tolerance rules. Please review these cards to ensure you are aware of NRG's expectations for contractor employees while on site. These cards are not an all-inclusive list of NRG's zero-tolerance rules. Refer to the full list available from your point of contact. Everyone entering the station is required to follow all policies and procedures. These policies are in place for your protection and the safety of everyone working at the station. Policy violations will not be tolerated, Should you have any questions regarding any of these policies, contact your supervisor or the NRG plant contact. We look forward to a safe and cooperative relationship during your work here. We hope you enjoy your stay as you work in a safe and productive manner. The information included in this program and in the NRG Contractor Safety Requirements Policy is not intended to be all-inclusive, but only to highlight some of the major requirements that you should be aware of. Your NRG plant contact may inform you of additional safety requirements. Remember, safety is everyone's responsibility.